I feel so funny because I have the headphones, I have like the belt on my head, I have the cape. Like I feel so like I'm in a suit, like I'm in a uniform. Can you even hear me?
I could hear you.
Okay, I've just been talking.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? What's your name?
Scoot-doo, blabbity-blue, scoop-dee. Oh, yeah!
Apologize. I thought that this was going to be the Halloween episode.
Yeah, you told me to dress up.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused why
I messed up
you're
timing.
in your pajamas.
I messed up timing. Well,
yeah, did you just like wake up?
This is curated.
Okay, this is a curated look.
Yeah, this is kind of like I'm like.
You chose it the night before. You laid it out.
I had this in mind when I messaged you weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like.
That feels a little unfair.
Oh, right. I kind of contradicted myself there. I was just trying to yes and you because the truth is I'm like an athletic leisure guy. Mm-hmm. I don't like wearing like pants or things with belts because it's like no disrespect.
I was like, who would wear a belt? Meanwhile.
When you came in, I said, Quailman, I love that, and you said, you got it, as if that wasn't. Is it a generational thing? I feel like that's a great costume, but who doesn't know it?
Either you know or you don't. I mean, this is kind of my go-to look.
Bring
to
this more to you. Would you?
Okay. Hi. Yeah, this is my go-to outfit. I just have it on hand. I just forgot to get. I lost the towel that normally is associated with it, but I go to parties with it, and people are either like, I have zero idea what you're going for here, or people are like, think I'm the coolest person at the party.
Right, because it's obscure enough to be like, we get each other, but also not everybody knows it.
Yeah, it's not like the fly on Pence's head that everyone's going to be this year.
So I didn't really tell you. I send you some clips. Every now and then we do some animation. Funny fly gag. FFG just happened.
Okay.
So if I'm snapping or if there's a goblin that appears above you, feel free to ignore him.
Okay.
He's disrespectful.
All right.
And
How disrespectful?
How disrespectful is he? He's so disrespectful. He shits and pisses in people's mouths.
Oh, damn. Okay. Well,
but
it's unfortunate because I'm into that. So.
Are you?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I were talking about it might be necessary to start getting, just because of and by the way, I think it's great. But the world is in a, but it's great. Things are tough. So, when we were younger, you'd have goblins shit and pissing in women's mouths, and they would be like,
absolutely.
Please, sir, may I have more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a different time.
Totally different time.
So you're okay with it?
Yeah, I'd say.
Do you want to have a taste and let me know if it's something that you're comfortable with, and then you could decide?
Yeah, it depends on what he ate that day, but yeah. Okay.
Let's see if you can guess what he ate.
I think he ate some asparagus, to be honest. It wasn't my fave.
Now, asparagus changes the flavor of pee. I didn't know it does it for poop.
Oh.
And you heard it here first. Welcome to another episode of Take Your Shoes Off. I'm Rick Glassman, and asparagus may change the blah, blah, blah. Funny gags. Let's get into it. So, I would like to start by telling the audience how you and I met, which was my girlfriend helps produce the podcast. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Betty. And she makes guest suggestions often. And she's been doing really great to the point where whoever she suggests, it just happens to be a great podcast. So she sends me something. I admittingly don't even look up stuff now. It's just like, oh, she thinks this is a great guest, and then I'll look it up if they say yes. Mm-hmm. And then as I'm looking stuff up from you, there's so many things that you've done that I don't know if do I apologize? I feel like if I apologize, you'll say don't worry about it. It's just the way the game works.
No,
People
I'm
don't
mad
know.
at you. I'm fully mad at
Well,
you.
I am sorry.
To be honest, when you reached out to me and I saw that you didn't even follow me, I was like, is he just like asking everyone with a blue check mark that he comes by?
Something happened, and I don't want to sound defensive here. Mm-hmm. I did. Whenever I ask somebody, I either already follow them or I follow them. I did follow you. I must have accidentally unfollowed or something. Because when you said that, I was ready to be like, and show you the screen grab. And then I saw I wasn't following you. I'm like, But But also, relax. You know, you don't know who I am.
Well, yeah, you're right.
So, Waitress
Yeah.
is, I mean, I've been listening to the album for years.
Really?
Obsessed. And
Oh.
when I was in London earlier this year, Betty got us tickets to see it where Sarah Bareilles was performing, which was, I was high. And when I'm high, I feel like I have to say, like, maybe I feel like I need to put an asterisk because in that
Yeah.
moment, my mouth is open. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It wasn't the cast that I knew from the album, but Sarah Bareilles, come on.
Yeah,
You got to get her
yeah.
on the
But
pod.
I mean, you didn't see me.
I didn't see you.
That was a huge, huge loss for you.
I didn't know that you were in it. And I'm listening to the Jesse Mueller album, and that's you.
Yeah.
You're the one on the album.
Yeah.
You're the one that I fell in love with that thing. And that's nutso. And I found out this morning, and I was so upset that I didn't have a setup with the piano, and I haven't looked at to see if I could play it well, and I wanted to, and I still might at some point, even a cappella.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
You'll sing it?
Yeah. Which song? My song?
If you just
Yeah, can you play it?
I don't know.
I haven't sung it in ages.
I have the lyrics printed out in case you need them.
I didn't warm up today, but you know what? I'm fine with doing it cold.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, away from you, I have decided, I bet you I could sing.
Are you the one who sings the theme song?
No, that's Casey Abrams. He's amazing.
Okay,
He's
yeah, I was like,
amazing
who
musician.
is? It sounds like you though.
People think it was me, and I felt bad after a while for like, oh, should I have said? But I posted. People know. I
Yeah.
talk about it.
Okay.
But no, it's Casey.
It's amazing.
10 minutes into this podcast, and I haven't stopped talking. So, hey, nice to
Hi.
meet you. Legitimate fan of yours, and have listened to you so many times. And then I watched it with Betty earlier today. Somebody cheated some performance of yours. How did that happen?
Oh, well, I have always done theater my whole life. That's like what I pursued. And I didn't really even consider doing film or TV at all. I didn't really know it was a possibility. Oddly, but you'd think that there was just disconnect because I just had my mind set on Broadway because I was huge fans of like Lea Salonga, Liz Calloway, like Linda Eder, like all these like big Broadway singers. I just like idolized them.
Was Broadway the path for you because you liked singing or you liked performing?
Both. I mean, I started in theater. I grew up in Arizona, and there's not like a huge media industry. I mean, there is, but like it's not to this level, obviously. So I just got into it. My dad, I think, came across this article that was like, "Do you want to audition for this musical?" And I was
How old were you?
10. But before that, I was just a crazy, insane kid. Just like so much energy, stealing my dad's camcorder, like making crazy commercials about like furniture being on sale, like things that you would see on television. I was like mimicking it. I had my own talk show. I did what was it called? Happy Cup News, and I would like report the things that happened today, which were like nothing because I lived in Phoenix and it was just my small life
Well,
as a 6-year-old.
I have some crazy news. We actually have footage of your furniture commercial, and we'll be
Shut
right
up.
back.
No
after a
way.
word from our sponsors.
Oh, hi! How are you doing? Today at Happy Cup News, we are going to discuss knitting. Come on, try to catch up with me. 1, 2, 3. Happy Cup. Happy Cup. Happy Cup. News reading. Happy Cup. Happy Cup. That wasn't too hard, was it? Drinking our Happy Cup. Am I on? Oh no!
Unbelievable.
What's unbelievable?
That we just played your.
Oh,
just played your
wow.
commercial.
Yeah.
We snapped to it and then we came
Yeah.
back.
It was great, right?
So you I wanted to make sure you were telling me more about it but not between the snaps. So
Yeah.
you're saying you're very confident about this furniture commercial. At
I
10.
was an amazing little kid, I think. I personally thought I was so funny. Like, I thought I was funny then. I think I'm hilarious now.
So even better than you were then.
As a kid, I was like, Dad, I was outrageous.
Do you have siblings?
I do, yeah.
What-
I have
what do you
a older sister. She's 2.5 years old and years older. And she always had an interest for singing and performing as well. But I was like, this is my natural thing that I'm doing, and it's the thing that I love. And I think she always had a beautiful voice and loved being on stage. She was very shy as a kid, so I wasn't. And I would do these videos of me like singing and everything, and she kind of would imitate. Not imitate what I was doing, but wanted to do the same. And so she would kind of sing, but it would be a little more subdued. And I, being the asshole kid that I was, would just jump into the back of the frame and start like doing crazy shit. And she'd start realizing that I was doing it. And you see the realization happen. And it happened, more than a handful of times. And I feel terrible. I think I traumatized her, to be honest.
What's your relationship with her? I mean, I feel like you're joking about traumatizing her, but there's obviously something there.
There is. I traumatized her. I mean, the thing is, we're totally in a great place now. But for like a good portion into my 20s, she had a lot of resentment towards me.
Did you know that?
I realized it when I was 19. I was on tour with a show and I broke my foot and I had to come back home to heal. And she was kind of, not being the nicest. And finally I broke down and I was like, why are you being mean to me? You're my best friend. Like, I always thought she was my best friend. And she was like, you ruined my childhood. And I was like,
By stealing your thunder?
She was always so smart, such an academic, so ahead, did extra credit, was 4 grades ahead in math, graduated early. I always idolized her for that. I was like, my sister has all the potential in the world. She, is so smart. She's so talented, on stage. And so that's the way I saw it. But I think you don't see how often I fail and how often the rejection happens. And
are you saying that because of all the rejection, you think she doesn't know if she does want to do it?
She loves performing, but I don't think she understood anyway at the time what it actually means to pursue it as a career, because it's so much more than that. It's especially now. I mean, the whole landscape of this industry has changed with influencers and with social media. It's like you have to know how to brand yourself, and
We'll push in on the belt.
just like
It's important to just, find a lane. You're wearing a towel and diapers and your crotch is in the window. And you just ate some shit. You're going to brand yourself.
Man-spreading right now. Listen, I find that this makes me more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm trying to, I'm working on that social media-wise, so.
You went to school for musical theater, right? And didn't you got booked for a play like after your first year?
Yeah.
So you didn't finish school?
Wow, you researted.
I'd hate to be racist, but it's stereotypical. Go to musical theater for a year, you get a play. I mean,
I guess that's what happened. I got super lucky. I went to an open call, and it just happened to be like this thing where they were doing a huge open call because it was for younger people.
So I apologize to you and the audience if this is boring or annoying questions, but I really want to be able to visualize what that means, because I went to Kent State University College because that's where my brother went.
Okay.
I didn't think about where to apply. I didn't know. I thought I was going to go to law school. I didn't know. I didn't think about anything. And looking back at how young I was at that time.
Wait, you went to law school?
No, I always thought that's what I was going to do.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then when I graduated, I was studying for the LSAT, and then I started doing stand-up. I'm like, I'm going to be a star. What I'm asking to you is, I want to visualize this. So can we go through this process of you graduate high school, you get into musical theater college. What school?
Boston Conservatory, yeah.
That's a big deal already, right?
I guess. You
had audition?
I did, but I truly wanted to go to a university. that would teach me other things. But the Boston Conservatory was the only school I got into, so I was like, okay.
You mean other things in case you don't go down the showbiz route?
Yeah, but I think it's important to be well-rounded as a human and...
Pushing again on the belt on the head?
Shut up. I know, this is really taking away all my legitimacy.
It's making it so much better. You're wearing a
How
towel.
dare you be wearing that sweat outfit? Sorry. Your
okay.
curated tracksuit look, I don't know.
The nerves that happen when I have somebody literally on my balcony that I don't know, and I say, hold on, for a bit that I know isn't worth it, makes me hot, but also, like, I've already decided this is what I'm doing. So living in that moment, I just feel like I wanted to acknowledge I appreciate your patience.
Yeah. What is the mustache bit?
It's a hilarious gag.
Makes you feel more comfortable.
It's just a gag. It's a gag that I do on the podcast a lot. I think there is a way that you could actually help me get this out there. Would you look to camera and snap, please?
All right, I'll do whatever I can to help out.
Thank you so much.
How did that mustache get on you?
Sorry.
But no, it's making me feel more comfortable because I'm in this entire outfit, and now at least you put on some semblance of a costume.
I also want to let people know, people think you put on a mustache. No, you're trying to make people believe you have a mustache. Mm-hmm. So just a quick little trick for those at home. You don't press it up against your mouth here. After it's on, have it come out.
Yeah. You know, it's odd, but it looks good. I think it looks good.
Thank you.
Can you grow such a full mustache on your own?
Yes.
Really?
Cut to a clip.
Hello! We interrupt this episode to invite you to join our Patreon. Here's a clip from this month's exclusive episode with Melissa Villasenor.
All right.
I think our improv scene was hilarious.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really, really, really good.
Okay, what are we doing?
Tell me.
You have a local ice cream shop, and I'm the who's the person that makes the A's and B's, rates the shops, restaurants?
The food health
Health
grade
inspectors.
inspector. Yeah.
So I'm coming by to tell you I'm giving you the boot.
Give me the boot or giving me a bad grade?
Oh, giving you a bad grade.
Okay. All right. There you go. Oh, you could just throw it anywhere. It doesn't really matter. We'll clean it up when we get to it.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, Teresa, are you the owner, Mr.
Frosty? Mr. Jeff Frosty? Yes, I am.
Okay,
Can
Jeff.
I get your scoop?
Well, that's sweet, but I'm just here. I'm the health inspector, so I'm just coming by to I'm coming by to check up on your ice cream shop that I know the city loves so much. 2 scoops in 1 cup.
Yeah, we named it after that viral video of the girls dumping in a cup. Okay. Yeah, hey guys, we're out of soap in the bathroom, so I'm sorry, use hot water.
So I'm just gonna do an inspection, look in the in your the back and
Yeah, well, help yourself, and if you change your mind, you want a scoop, you could just come back here and take it yourself, or I'll give a flying fuck. This is a neighborhood-friendly store where we like people to help themselves.
Oh my god, I have to pee.
Yeah. Oh, you could use the bathroom. We're running low on soap.
I have to pee. I don't want. If you make me laugh more, I'll pee my pants.
Just put the towel down.
No.
This is an ice cream shop where we encourage
I'm not in
peeing
this-
when you have to.
Cut the same.
Cut! Could you do that on Saturday Night Live? If something's happening where you might have to pee, would you stand up and call cut?
Visit patreon.com/takeyourshoesoff or click the link in the description. Now take your shoes off and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Let's get back into conservatory.
Okay. The conservatory.
How do you get into something like that?
It was so nerve-wracking, the whole process. I mean, especially when you're that young and it feels like this is your shot. And it's not, like you don't have, especially for the arts, you don't have to go to school for it.
Mm-hmm.
You just waste a bunch of money. Not saying it's waste.
It's waste.
But it's like, $40,000 to $50,000 a year or something crazy. I thankfully got a little bit of a scholarship, but it puts you in debt right away.
What'd you get a scholarship for being so, just they wanted you so much? Or is it a grades thing?
Definitely not a grades thing. I was very average grades-wise because I was focused on acting all the time. But I don't know. I think it was I was so great.
So you got
That's what I want to believe.
Sure. So you got a scholarship, and it's a 3-year program?
It's a 4-year program, and they're cut second year, which I was so glad I wasn't a part of. I mean, the whole thing is so nerve-wracking. I think the theater school is hard for me, especially, but I think for a lot of people. Wow. I appreciate the commitment to this mustache. It's hard because you're standing in front of classmates who it's their job to kind of critique you. Like their job is to like comment on your performance and to recognize the things that didn't work. And that's so vulnerable. When you're learning on a job, you're just kind of expecting everyone to be at a certain level. You're learning from your scene partner and going like, oh, this is how they breathe, and this is like kind of the nuances of what they're doing. And I learned so much better that way. And I think arguably it's just in general better to learn that way. I was so glad that I was swept away from college, from theater school, to do this thing. But anyways, the reason why I did it was I had seen Spring Awakening, which was the show that I did. And I was such a big fan. I thought it was the coolest thing, most inventive thing, as this, sorry, this is crazy. But I went to an open call, which happened to be the same weekend that I was going to audition for the school, or to do it like a tour of the school or something. So I auditioned in Boston, and I didn't expect anything to come from it. It didn't for a while. Like a few months passed. I was going to Boston Conservatory. It was like October or something into the year, and I get a call, and meanwhile I'm like applying for a ton of different Starbucks and like for a job while I'm at college, and I get this call. I didn't know it was a New York number at the time because I didn't know what those numbers looked like. I picked it up. Oh no, I didn't pick it up. I got a voicemail, and it was like, hey, this is Carrie Gardner from Spring Awakening casting. And I thought she was going to say Starbucks because I was expecting calls from Starbucks. And I was like, what? They're revisiting me? And so I started commuting to New York to go to these auditions and callbacks, and there was a 3-day stretch of final callbacks where they put us up in hotels, mixed and matched us, and it was this very stressful process. And I ended up getting it midway through the year.
October you audition, and then you don't get it until middle of the next year?
No. I want to say it was like end of November, early December that I got it. So midway through the year, like at the end of the semester, and I was like, should I not continue going? Would that save you money? They're like, we already paid for it. Sorry, my parents. So yeah, it was interesting because I got terrible grades because I was missing classes, and then now I'm like the poster child for the conservatory.
So you were still in school for a little bit while rehearsing for the play?
Not while rehearsing, just while I was trying to get the part. And then it started that summer. So
how do you get the part? What is
out,
there other than an audition? What do? You have to like train vocally for the audition? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. What do you mean? There's
like if I'm trying to get a role on a TV show, I'm not like training for months for it.
No. And typically that's not how it works with acting. I mean, you get, like I was given like 3 auditions to do this weekend, and I'm getting no time to like read the script or really even understand much of the context. I'm like skimming and like just drawing assumptions myself. But I had seen the play at least, so I had an idea, and I was auditioning for 2 different roles. So that was a bit stressful. But yeah, I mean, I had sung the music so much in my car because I was a big fan of it. So I didn't need, I wanted to perfect it, but I didn't need to like, get it in my bones. It was already there.
So when you booked it, you're, what are you, 19?
18.
Years?
Yeah, I was 18 when I got it and 19 when I started.
And how long was that run?
It was 2 years.
So you're done with school?
Yeah, it was a really intense time because going into kind of a cult theater thing. Like it was really big at the time. Especially there was a cult following, like especially with children, but a lot of times with like traumatized older people.
TOP.
Yeah, is that what we call it?
Yeah.
There was an interesting fan group. I think they were called The Guilty Ones or something. But it's funny because one of the people who got one of the roles in my tour started the fan page on Facebook and was like the president of the fan group of Spring Awakening.
It would be like if LeBron and I started working together and I created the King James fan account.
Yeah.
Which go to kingjamesfan.com and sign up for the newsletter. We send pictures of LeBron all the time.
Because we don't have enough of that.
Couldn't agree more.
LeBron is undercovered in the media, and someone needs to talk about it.
I feel like you and I have differing points of view on this. I think you're being sarcastic. I need to be bombarded with them constantly.
Listen, King James, all the way, love him.
You know, I played against him in high school.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Are you? I can't tell if you're fucking with me.
You'll have to watch this episode, or I'll send you a clip because we'll put the picture up right here. Yeah, played with him in high school against him.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And you won?
No, but
surprisingly, no.
I did see him about 8 years later at a Cavs game where a friend took me who has great seats, and we went back to where the locker rooms are, and there's this roped off section where there's a whole bunch of kids, 8,
Really?
waiting to meet LeBron, and I'm in there with him. I'm in there with this picture that I have. And I want him to sign. He's younger than me, by like 5 months. And I'm waiting with these kids, and he signs a couple, and he goes off. And I go, LeBron, we played each other in high school. And he looked back enough to where he didn't see me, but to know it was to me. And he goes, congratulations. And I found out Santa Claus was fake that day. I went home. I have the cover of all the Cavs Sports Illustrated on my wall. I took them down. I kept them in the frame, but I'm like, I was so embarrassed.
Oh, my God.
I didn't even realize I'm in there with the kids, and but yeah.
Tore him down.
Yeah.
So it's not good to meet your heroes, is what you're saying?
No, who gives a shit? He's the coolest guy in the world.
Yeah. He can do no wrong in my eyes. I literally got into basketball because of him, only to watch him.
Are you a basketball fan now?
No.
Good acting. Conservatory?
Yeah, right? They taught me very little, but yeah, no. I actually really liked my time there. I can't shit on it.
Well, he can.
Okay.
Good
It got on my face this time. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to land in the mouth.
So you did you make it now? Now you're 21?
Did I make it?
I'm saying at the end of. You don't need to make the magic. Just show me snap. Did you? You're 21. You're done with this play. Are you like, what's? I mean, from when does the end of that play to Orange is the New Black happen?
Oh, there was a long journey, I want to say.
Really? You don't look a day over 22.
Thank you. I think maybe 2014. So I guess it wasn't a long journey. It was 4 years. Felt like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Hustling. It's so hard to make a living in New York, especially. It's so the cost of living is crazy, but also as an actor, I mean, you are literally making, you might as well get unemployment and you would probably make more money, because you get like $500 a week from a lot of these things, unless you're doing Broadway. Even so, Broadway is like enough to live on while you're doing it, and then you have like maybe a little bit of savings if you're smart, but then like you just have to keep working. So
You're in New York when you book Orange?
Yes. So I thankfully, because I did this show for 2 years, the Spring Awakening show, I had a savings going into New York, which was like the biggest blessing in the entire world because it's so scary and hard to make rent. Mm-hmm. But I pursued theater so hard. I don't even know how I did it now. I would go to like 3 to 4 auditions a day for musicals, and TV auditions are hard. There's a quick turnover, learning lines, but theater auditions are really scary. They wreak havoc on your nervous system.
Why?
because you're singing, which is so exposing. If you're scared, you're not going to hit the note, or...
I want to say for the people listening, stick around, you'll hear a clip or a live performance. You have such an incredible voice.
Oh, thank you.
You have such an incredible voice, and it's just cool to hear you knowing you have an incredible voice. If you know you're funny, you know your voice is good. You're obviously a confident enough person.
Thank you.
But to still think that, like, there's circumstance that you might not be able to shine the way you want to based on nerves or whatever the situation might be. Now, having done this even more, looking back, I'll speak for myself. I'll get nervous all the time.
Yeah.
I've also gotten to the point, at least relatively well, where when I'm nervous before I go on stage, I don't feel like, oh no, wipe my palms, figure it out. I know that, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be nervous. This is what the body does. Let's go, baby.
Wow.
And I'm okay. I'm okay with the nerves.
Yeah.
So looking back at times that I've been nervous, I appreciate who I was then, and if I was there again, maybe I would still be that way. But I understand. Oh, I was nervous because I didn't accept my feelings. I had expectations that I didn't think would be met, or I didn't know what, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Point I'm making is, now when I have an audition for something, I still could get nervous. It doesn't affect my performance.
That's so nice.
It still does for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get nervous when I'm on a set. You know, I get a little bit, but I have the job, you know?
Right.
I think there's also at this point in my career, there's a vulnerability of, like, I feel like I've proven myself, and yet here I am in this small room with this one casting director.
You're saying,
you know?
not being offered something, but having to audition for it.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I feel entitled to it or like I deserve it, but it's just it doesn't ever feel like I mean, granted, there are some situations where I go straight to producers or something, which is nice, but I get really hung up on, like, if there's a waiting room, if there's a long waiting time, I'm really scared of going up on my lines.
Going up on your lines?
Like, just forgetting what I'm supposed to say.
Do you hold the sides with you when you're in the room?
I put them on the floor because it is distracting to me. I'm not as free when
my acting teacher, David Sullivan, shout out. Sorry for cutting you off.
No problem.
If I could do it again, I wouldn't do it. And I'm embarrassed. But he told me, I always, even when I have them, I will. You have to know your lines. But he says, always hold on to them. It makes the casting directors nervous. I don't know if that's true or not, but I just remember that.
You know, I've heard that from everybody, but for me, I give, like, a stiffer performance because I'm like you can hear the crinkles of the paper.
Right.
Like, I never look down at them. So, because, like, you want to stay focused. And even if I'm forgetting a line, if I look down, it takes me, like, a good solid 3-4 seconds to find the line. And so it's just useless to me. I just set them on the floor, and I'm like, they're there. And I don't know. I think nowadays, because the industry is so oversaturated, there's so much content, there's so many actors now, especially with social media and people coming up the ranks in that way, I feel like the time in the room is much shorter. So it's like a lot of times they'll work with you, but not so much anymore. It's like you get one shot. If you fuck up, it's like I'll be like, hey, I totally, like, stumbled a bunch. Can I do a cleaner take? And they're like, we're fine.
May I?
Yeah.
You don't ask them.
Uh-huh.
You say, I'm going to do another one.
Yeah.
Beforehand, I make a shtick out of it because that's my defense system. But before I go, I say, I don't want to take a lot of your time. Whatever you need, we'll do. I need to do at least 2 of these.
Okay, good.
I say that up top.
Yeah.
And if the first one's great, maybe I won't do another one. But it just gives me I feel that people are only upset not with the action that is happening or not happening, but by the expectation that's not being met. And if you go in right away and you say, I'm doing 2, that's just my, like, I don't know if it's a trick.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because I hate that.
Yeah.
And you know if you don't have it.
Yeah.
Even if they say you got it. It's like, and also, not only do we want the job, this was asking a friend to read lines with me, showering and wearing a thing I don't want to wear. Thanks for this. And it's like, and this was 2 to 4 hours of prep and drive time at least.
Yeah.
It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and then to have one shot at it. I mean, I always need at least one take to just get it out of my system. Most of it's just like trying to hit all my marks and remember, And so once I can just release that, I can actually do my job.
I kind of skipped over this part that I want you to go back to, the auditioning for theater versus television, and you're in this room and you're worried your voice and the nerves you have. Could you kind of explain that process to somebody who hasn't done that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you're auditioning for theater, there's like a panel of people sitting behind a desk, and it feels very even if they're like the most welcoming, loving, supportive room, it still feels like you're on display. And
how is that different than testing for something, auditioning with the producers and the directors?
Well, testing, I feel like you've gone through several cycles. You know that you're like in the mix for something, and they're going to take maybe a moment with you. But theater right off the bat is just kind of like, and the room is so fluorescent bright that you can see them like munching on their sandwich, looking at your resume, not actually see, and you're like bearing your soul, right? You're like, nah! And they're like, like just checking their phones,
right.
And like it's I don't know. It's interesting, and I think it feels more vulnerable because you're in a bigger room typically, because it's a rehearsal room.
Is there
with a
piano
and you never know if the accompanist is going to do a good job or not a good job.
Do you play an instrument?
I play guitar, and it depends. Like sometimes in my life, I'm much more skilled at the guitar, and then I grow my nails out and I lose it.
Could you play for yourself if you wanted to for an audition?
Yeah, and I have. Yeah, and I feel cool when I do it. But I can't do it behind a piano. That like defeats the purpose. But typically I can only do it for things where it's required, or where they're like, if you play an instrument, come in with it. So in that way, I feel like I have a leg up sometimes. But it just feels more intimate, and I do better one-on-one than I do with a group. Like I talked to my therapist about this week. I have a really strong reaction and strong reaction to eyes on me, which is so funny because
You saying Tupac?
Is that one of his songs?
Is it one of his songs?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Also, I want to make sure, note to the editor, when she says I have a leg up, make sure you push in on the leg, but you could keep this in so people know this is the behind the scenes. So you have a strong reaction to eyes on you, meaning you like it, you don't like it, you want to control it?
No,
what do you mean?
I float outside of my body.
In a good way?
Not in like a panic attack kind of way.
But that's what you were doing with your sister when you were younger. It seems like you liked the eyes, right?
Well, on a stage, you're not seeing the eyes on you. The lights are so bright, it's dark in the audience. You don't see. It feels like you're just expressing yourself, and you've rehearsed for months, and that's the scenario. But I more so get really freaked out by, and even on a set, it's fine, like eyes on me, whatever. But when I'm in a social situation, or if I'm in a meeting, and there are more than two people there, and I start talking and they go, shoo, and their eyes look at me, I start to float outside my body and panic.
Because what? That you're doing something wrong?
Because I'm like, I have to say something brilliant, or not even brilliant, but I don't even know. I guess I'll explore that in my next session.
Do you think there's something to correlated with you saying how you don't feel entitled, but you have accomplished this body of work, you've proven yourself, and you want your reputation to be there and remembered and above? Is there something to, like, you've experienced being praised and awarded literally and done so well that you don't want to show people another side?
No. I think that I just am able to express myself better one-on-one. I'm more relaxed. I put things on more so when I'm with more than a group of two, and I have high expectations for myself because I'm in a position of like, okay, I'm established, people know me, people want to hear what I have to say. Then I'm like, I feel like I have a lot to say, but I get really bogged down. Like I'm not going to say the right thing, or I'm going to say something stupid. Or I have really terrible anxiety. So I am constantly afraid, especially in those situations, that my anxiety is going to get the better of me, and I'm going to like start sweating and having like being like, I have to go to the restroom now, because I'm not grounded.
Pissing
and
your pants, as you say it.
Literally, I might as well. Like that's how I feel. Like I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. My brain starts going on autopilot, and my mind's like over here.
That's kind of what I meant, because like you said that you have interesting things to say, but it might not be curated or ready, or you might not be. I mean, for myself, and I talked about this on the podcast. The podcast was, and will probably remain tough, but one of the obstacles for me was when you're having 60-minute, 2-hour conversations with people. I'm funny. I'm only going to be so funny. I'm only going to be interesting sometimes, and there's going to be a lot of who gives a fuck. And one of the things that I'm working on accepting is my value of being a funny guy. I'm getting insecure that I'm going to be talking too much about this.
No, please. Let's go in.
I have two things that, right or wrong, I identify myself as. This is why people like me. I'm funny, and I'm a great basketball player. Whether or not I'm funny, whether or not I'm a great basketball player, I am, is not the point. It's just that I think that this is why people like me. So when I'm not being funny, or if I'm not playing well, or if I don't get to play, or whatever the thing might be, I get worried that why else would anybody like me? So being okay not being funny and understanding it doesn't mean that I'm not funny. It just means, Rick, don't be on all the time. That's my own thing.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you're funny.
Look at the goblin. No, I'm sorry. I was just annoying on purpose. I hope that translated. Go ahead.
I've only seen your podcast, so I don't know like how you are in daily life, and like if you're trying out your jokes constantly, which sometimes can be annoying for comedians. But to me, you just seem naturally like in interesting, like, and that to me is like, you can, if you have that general interesting thing about you, then you don't have to constantly be like, but that's funny. I think also what freaks me out in these situations.
I really wanted to cut back to a reaction shot of me with a mustache going like this. The sticker didn't work. And
It's fine. Maybe we'll do it at the end or something. But I don't know what I'm about to say when I start a sentence. And I'm like, I'm not religious, but I'm like, oh, someone will take care of it. Like some brilliance would just come through me and out my mouth, and sometimes it does. Like, I want to say 50% of the time, I'm like, damn, that was a good point, Kimiko. You nailed that one. And people are like nodding their heads. And I'm like, that was successful. But then sometimes I literally fucking glitch. Like my brain is like, I did this this press junket the other day, and it was just a slew of 5-minute interviews. I want to say there were like 40 5-minute interviews. It lasted all day. And we had to say the same thing over and over. And I think I just like, for one of the interviews, just got like, she asked it in a different way, and I was like, and yeah, there was when in the film you it's great because audiences are, and I just like,
I have to use the bathroom.
Like, it was like my brain didn't know how to string a thought together, and that's what makes me nervous. I literally started floating outside myself in that moment, and I was like, that I think I just get nervous that that's going to happen to me in any situation that I go into, especially if I don't know someone.
How does this feel? And
This
you could take a
feels
minute
good.
to answer if you think so.
Yeah, I mean, I had a vibe from listening to you, but I also, it's one-on-one, so that's nice. I also wonder, like, I wonder how podcasts go when there are producers present, because, like, if I were to have a podcast and I had, like, extra people in the room, I think I would get nervous.
I made up. I told you beforehand. Every now and then I'll do it now because it's organic. I check to make sure the cameras are still going. The other option is to have people in the room who help, and that would be that. I'm literally in my living room normally with the guest or living room balcony. Even though we're putting it on somewhat, we know we're performing. We know people are watching this. It feels like a conversation, at least for me. I'm just having with somebody. And with people in the room, even in a good thing. Sometimes when I do podcasts and you hear the producers laughing in the other room, it gets me fucking going. Like, yeah. But
I mean, it
it's not the same.
It depends on the producers because obviously they would probably be your friends, and
I still think it would be an obstacle.
Yeah.
I don't think you could have a real conversation. I feel that way about cameras. I had a conversation with Dax Shepard is like I've talked about him a whole bunch on the podcast. He's a role model of mine. The way he does things and the way he communicates them is fantastic. And he has a very successful podcast now. And
which I just subscribed to on the way here, which is
Armchair Expert.
Yeah, which is kind of funny that you bring him up. Sorry.
It's great. Armchair Expert and Eric Griffin's Riffin' with Griffin. Those are the first podcasts I started listening to. And I was talking to Dax how big the YouTube audience is and how it's not just to give your audience another option. It is an audience that doesn't listen to podcasts that will watch it on YouTube. And him just explaining how when you add cameras, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah, totally.
And I feel that way about people in the room. I feel that way about cameras, but that's the cost of it.
Yeah. And nowadays, I think cameras are a bit more normal. I'm amazed when normal people are able to make these brilliant TikTok videos or like put out content, and I'm like, you're not an actor, you're just like doing that. And that to me always blows my mind, because for years when I first started doing film stuff and film auditions, it really threw me to have a camera in the room. I was not used to it because I was just on a stage, and like I was like, okay, do I have to act super small or something? It took me like 3 years to start ignoring it. So I commend anyone who creates content on their own and wants to do that and does it well.
There's a big difference between stage and camera, obviously. Now that you've done both, do you know when you have to, and when, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it easy for you to transition, or is it a muscle memory thing that you need to kind of, I've got to go back into stage mode or television mode?
You know, I think I'm much more used to the subtleties of TV and film now. When I did WAITRESS, I was very like, I don't know how big or small to be. And it was a bit of a navigation of that for the first like month and a half of doing it. I felt like I don't know. It was a bit hard. It was confusing to my brain.
Looking back on what you did in WAITRESS, are you happy with it?
Yeah, it was such an interesting experience, because the actual experience of creating it was a rough road. I think for me, especially because I joined in for the Broadway run. The people had been doing it. The rest of the cast had been doing it. Most of the cast had been doing it for like a year before me in workshop situations. I didn't get the part initially. I think they thought I was too young looking in comparison to Jessie Mueller and Kayla. But then from there, they had always kind of used me as a benchmark for the role, and then I just wasn't available for those different workshops for it. So then I entered into the Broadway company, and I was like, I don't know if they've established rules of how this diner works. I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like, well,
the show has already been going, right?
Yeah, but they were workshopping it. So they were figuring out, and like they had redesigned certain set pieces that weren't working out of town.
So was it not officially out yet?
No, so the way a Broadway production works is oftentimes they do out of town tryouts, where basically they put the thing on, but not on Broadway. So they're able to have several different renditions of it. They're like, more close quarters table reads and workshops within just a rehearsal room, where at the end of the process, they show it to producers and investors and stuff and kind of see what tweaks they need to make. Then they put it on stage outside of New York, and then they bring it to Broadway.
Were you, the first time it was on Broadway, were you on it?
Yeah, I was in the original
you
cast.
originated it then.
Yeah.
I was confused while I'm looking this up because it didn't have a date for you on something, but once I watched your performance, I'm like, no, that's the album. That's the album.
The album
that's nuts.
Was the original cast, and that is like my biggest accomplishment. I listened to Broadway cast albums like that was all I listened to as a kid. I mean, aside from like just random divas like Celine Dion and
All Eyes on Me, Tupac.
Especially Tupac, but I that was like my lifelong goal.
Yeah, you said you want to do Broadway, and then here you are originating, which is, I want to say I'm a fan of Broadway. I'm not educated. I've seen, I've gone to 8 different shows. And
that's a lot.
It's, and again, I was high, and I feel like I have to say it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't see you. I would have loved to, and I've listened to you, and that's when I fell in love with it. But holy shit, what a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, and when this was the funny. I don't think I've ever talked about this in like this situation. I've written a little bit about this, my experience on it, but I was actually going through a highly anxious time in my life. When I got the show, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stick around and do it.
Could you talk on what that was a little bit?
Yeah, I was having a really anxious time in my life. I was dealing with a lot of recognition on the street in New York, and when you walk out in New York, it's unavoidable. In LA, it's a bit more calm because you're commuting in your car. Like, they kind of, because new media was a thing, like a very new thing, Netflix was at the forefront of it, there weren't good contracts. Like, we weren't getting paid a lot. And I was at the last bit of my savings. A lot of people had second jobs while they were doing Orange is the New Black. And it didn't feel like I could protect myself in any way. I was riding the subway and people were like, filming me straight to my face.
Protect yourself as in like having more money where you could take cars.
Yeah,
services.
where I could take a cab so I didn't feel bombarded by people staring at me or taking pictures or coming up to me or screaming sometimes. Like, it was a really big show because it was like one of the only things, like it was House of Cards and then Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
So because there was less, it was a much bigger deal. Thankfully, that's kind of gone away. My anxiety has subdued a bit because of that. But I was sort of like not knowing how to deal with it. I was paranoid. I was at like an all-time high of anxiety. And I was like, I guess I have to do this. It's a role of a lifetime. The song that I'm about to sing is just like iconic. I love it so much. And so I ended up doing it. But part of the way through the run, I developed panic disorder. And what happened was I had walked out on stage, and I think the blood went out of my brain or something, and I blacked out. I didn't like fall or anything, but I blacked out.
You can't see.
I like grayed out. I couldn't see anything.
For seconds? For minutes?
Not for minutes, but for, I want to say, a good 20-25 seconds. And it was really scary. I was front and center. I could only hear the music far away. My muscle memory took over.
That happens to me sometimes, but
in
the
stage?
apartment.
Oh, yeah, in the apartment. I've had these things happen, in life, but never in front of thousands of people.
Right.
And I knew that the set was about to move, and I was like, I can't see. But I think my adrenaline kept me standing, and so it kind of faded. And I was
Were you
like,
singing during that moment too?
Oh yeah, singing, doing all the movements that I was
supposed to do. So you're
going
going through the muscle memory, but you're like, when will this come back?
Yeah, it was just like I couldn't see anything. I was just like, it was really traumatic, and I didn't realize how traumatic it was. But from then on, the way panic disorder tends to work is you then become have major anxiety about having a panic attack.
It's like performance anxiety of no disrespect, we've all been there, but oh no, I won't be able to get hard, and then it's self-fulfilling or soft.
Yeah.
Whatever, you gotta say either way.
It is exactly like that.
So you couldn't get hard on stage, or you were worried about it.
Yeah. I was worried about my boner showing. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, from then on, it was that constant anxiety of like, this is going to happen. And I was living in a very, very, like, beyond any kind of anxiety I had felt before. I deal with generalized anxiety, but this was like unavoidable. Like, I couldn't control my brain. I don't know if this is going too deep for this type of podcast, but like, I had started to do everything. I was like, took out caffeine, took out smoking weed, only alkaline water, probiotics, going on runs, meditating. I went to like 6 different therapists. I wasn't set up with a therapist or medication
Why
at the
6
time.
different therapists? Why not just find a therapist?
Because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Because I would wake up in a panic. And when I would go, like, it was debilitating to a point where I would be at a crosswalk, see the light turn green, like you're supposed to walk, and I would be like, walk. And I like couldn't, like, I would be curled up in a ball on my floor for like 30 minutes, like stand up. And it was truly debilitating.
This starts with the panic attack on stage.
Yeah, I think it was a weird PTSD moment of like, you're unsafe here.
Here, New York?
On
Acting?
stage.
Right.
On stage. And it was also at a time where I was being very spread thin. So like, I had a new season of Orange is the New Black. The trailer dropped. I had the Broadway cast album come out, and there was a lot of like hype around that because people were excited about Sarah Bareilles. There was another movie that I had done that had just gone into theaters.
What movie?
Nerve, with like Emma Roberts and Dave Franco. And so I knew people were going to see that. I was doing a ton of press. Like, when you're doing a Broadway show, I'm used to doing 8 shows a week. That's not a big deal to me, but it's all the in-betweens. You have to go to rehearsal for the understudies. You have to do press performance constantly, and you're just spread so thin. And at the time, too, we were starting to shoot another season of Orange is the New Black, so I was doing double duty.
I'm going to pass on it, but I just have to acknowledge the instinct of 2 goblins shitting on you for the double duty, and we'll see what we could do. We're being vulnerable, I understand.
It's very insensitive.
Are you... also, I need to say that it seemed like, crass and blue to just bring up boner stuff, but like, I really meant, like, I just remember there was a situation in college where something happened once, and then for a year I was scared to go on dates. I was scared of my life changed from one thing. So as silly and as broad as that was, it was like a real,
but
like...
it's kind of similar,
When you're a... David Sullivan, again, my acting coach and friend who I brought up before, he said something to me that I don't remember who he heard it from, but when you worry about something and it goes wrong, you lose twice. But there's this idea of like, anyway, I hear you on the worrying about something and the penis thing and the double duty. I just give me a fucking break. But did you get to enjoy any of that while it was happening? Yeah,
so it was such an interesting moment in time because before any of that started happening, we had about a month and a half to 2.5 months, I forget, maybe including previews, of performances where I felt like this is my heaven. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I love performing every night. I was like, I could do this forever. And then this started happening and it became my own personal hell because it felt like I was on acid, but I was completely sober. And like, I've never had an issue controlling my mind. I've always felt very strong in that. I've overcome a lot of different things on my own because of my mind and because I'm strong-willed and because I'm like, okay, I'm solution-based. I have to figure out actionable ways to get out of this and figure this out. But nothing was working. I think I was just spread too thin, and I ended up leaving the show after 3 months. And
I saw that you weren't on it that much.
Yeah.
So is that season 2 of Orange is the New Black you're filming?
Yeah.
And you decide, how did you get to that decision? And do you think you made the right decision?
I had to. It was to the point where, like, this is weird, but I could, like, smell my hands, like, all the toxins from, like, my nervous system was at an all-time high. Like, I couldn't I could barely walk. It took a lot of effort to walk. I was taking Xanax to help with the performances, but I would have to increase my dose because I would get tolerant. And I was like, this is not a sustainable thing. And my agents knew about it as soon as it started happening. I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't want to call out. Like for a month and a half, it happened for a month and a half while I was in it. I didn't want to call out.
And was it still happening while you were on stage, or?
I mean, full on vertigo, blacking out was still happening. I would be over here while the scene was happening.
Did the director know? Did you tell him in case there's something you might need help? I
told the stage manager, and he was like, well, you can't tell at all. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm really good at hiding it. I've lived with anxiety my whole life. And so I'm working off of muscle memory, but like my system is crashing. Like my whole system is just not working anymore. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I just need you to know that this is happening because I don't know what to do. But at a certain point, I'm so thankful for my managers because my managers had taken me on during Waitress. They were brand new, and I started calling them about this. I'm like, this has never happened to me before. I've had, random anxiety here and there, but this is like beyond anything I've ever experienced. It won't go away. I was trying to get on medication at the time, antidepressants, so I didn't have to be on the Xanax.
Are you on medication now?
No. Well, I take Xanax as needed.
Same.
But I wanted to get off of that because it affected certain parts of my life. Like I felt like I wasn't feeling very much. But I view it as like training wheels for the brain. So I got on it for that period of time until I felt like I could have a handle on my life. But they were the ones who made the call. They were like, this is too much. You have too much on your plate, and you need to leave. And they gave me permission, which was the most valuable thing I could have asked for. I probably, something would have happened, like I would have like collapsed on stage. It was bad. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep.
Look up. Oh, open your mouth. No, I'm just joking. We won't put it in there.
I'm like, this is the worst time.
Just have dicks running around, just goblin dicks. Just like,
as I'm talking about something very real. Yeah.
Was there a decision of I need more space? Do I quit Orange or do I quit Waitress? Or was it clear that Waitress was the one that needed to go? And if so, why?
Waitress, for sure. I mean, it was the fact that it was a moving train. Like when you're doing a show, you can't just call hold unless it's an absolute emergency. It's
You're saying it when you're doing a live show.
When you're doing a live show. And I didn't want to do that to people. That would ruin the magic of the show. And, sometimes we would hold because the set pieces didn't work, but that made sense. That's, safety and everything.
You're right.
But I just, for my sake and for everyone else's sake, because I wasn't open with the cast about what was happening because I didn't want it to be real. So I think people were confused what was happening. They just knew I was like quiet all of a sudden and using a ton of essential oils and constantly just like, oh my God, like, like I don't know how to deal with this moment in time.
How'd you tell them?
I didn't. I think they just kind of started realizing.
No, I mean, you didn't show.
I finally, like, at places was like, I can't
at
do
places,
it.
That's places getting right
places,
before the show.
It's curtain up. It's time to do the show. It had been a month and a half of that.
Oh.
I was so weak in my whole body. My body was shutting down on me. I was like, I can't go on stage. Something bad's gonna happen. Because I had insurers on hand, like those grandma drinks that provide like protein and nutrients, and you just take it so you can get that. I couldn't swallow. I was so anxious. I just had to drink Ensures. And so I got like massively skinny. I was getting a lot of flack online for how skinny I was. And I'm like, I wish you could know what was happening in my life. First of all, I'm doing a Broadway show, which is like burning 1,000 calories right now just by the adrenaline of it. And then on top of that, I can't eat. And so it was just like this whole, it was a crazy moment. in time, and I have my managers to thank for giving me permission because I never would have left on my own.
But you had to then an understudy had to come in last second for you for the last show you did, right?
Yeah.
And then did you say, "Hey guys, I'm sorry, I have to who do you speak to and how do you approach it?"
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure what was going to happen because I wanted to go back.
Right.
But I knew, so I had taken a week. So an understudy was going on for like a week. And then at a certain point, I think they were like, we have to maybe put you on medical leave so that you can actually find the tools. You don't have, like, I had to get a proper, like, I had to really love my therapist and trust in my therapist and start medication a little bit more fully.
By medication, you were taking antidepressants for a bit, yes?
I started I started experiencing what was happening on the show. But my sister had taken antidepressants and had a history with antidepressants, and she was like, for 2 weeks was like incapacitated. Like I had the worst headaches, I was throwing up, and so I had this fear of antidepressants and what that would do. I didn't have any side effects, so that was nice, but I was taking a almost what do you call it? Sub-therapeutic dose of it, where just like it was just there in my system. It wasn't quite doing the trick. So I had to like get serious about it and like actually go on it. And I don't know how long I should like go on about this. I could talk about this all day.
Well, I want to talk about a couple more things, but I am very interested in this. So, please don't feel the need to finish this story. I want to hear more about it.
Yeah.
And also the feeling of your dream literally coming true, and then of being on this amazing Broadway show, and then having all these other opportunities that are coming up. Orange is the New Black. It seems like the biggest or one of the bigger of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I still want to understand, like once you say I'm out after this week leave, is there a fear? Is there regret? Is there a gratitude? Is that I made the wrong decision? This was my only decision. Now time has passed. Are the relationships there still?
Yeah.
Could you go back? Has something changed?
So the show is closed now. I actually really wanted to close it out. I was talking to the producer about joining back in for the final performance.
And when did it close? Because I just saw it in London. You mean it closed in America?
In the U.S., yeah. This January, yeah.
Oh, so they must have closed and then gone right, because I saw it in February, I think. So they just closed up, done in America, and now we're moving to London. So all the actors have to move there.
No, it's a different cast.
Completely different cast.
Yeah,
okay.
Although Catherine McPhee, I think, did some of the London run.
It was Sarah Bareilles when I was there.
She's amazing.
It's, sidebar, when I became a fan of Sarah was, what's the name? It was an a cappella show that the 98 Degrees, Nick Lachey hosted. This was probably 2009.
The Sing Off or
maybe. I watched. It was what's his name? Sean. It was Boys to Men guy Sean.
Ben Folds.
Ben
right?
Folds and Sarah, the three of them.
I didn't know Sarah was on it.
And I fell in love with her.
Yeah, she's the coolest person in the entire world. She's the most realist. And honestly, working with her helped me so much, because at the time I was in the peak of everyone knowing who I was and how uncomfortable that made me feel, and not knowing how to deal with it. I was slowly imploding on myself. Other people in the cast kind of dealt with it like, yeah, I'm famous now. And I was like, I'm the opposite. Like, please, no one look at me. I want to be a normal person in my PJs going to the store. I feel like everyone's staring at me. And so I didn't know how to deal with it. And meeting Sarah and working with Sarah, she's so normal.
Now, why are you working with her? Because she is the co-creator of the show.
Yeah, she was the composer of the thing.
So she's not singing in it.
No.
But she was
there the whole time,
right,
consulting, and they had to make tweaks to some of the musical stuff, additions, and we went through so many different variations of the opening number that she had to rewrite on a day. And so, yeah, the experience of working with her and being like, oh, to be a celebrity, she's such a celebrity, in my eyes anyway. Like, you don't have to be an asshole. Like, I think a lot of people think like they have to put on airs or, put up a brick wall. She's so open and so sweet, and you can talk to her about anything. And that was like a huge lesson for me. And I don't know, she's the coolest person that's I guess besides the point.
She is, and I'm transparency. There's no like rubbing elbows with you here. I'm just confessing something.
Yeah.
She's on my list of like, who do I really want to have in this? I'll never ask you to ask her. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm getting nervous even bringing this up.
I don't even know. She doesn't even follow me on Instagram, so I don't
Bitch.
know. I don't know if like how close we are, honestly. But I love her to death.
She's never hit a wrong note.
Never.
It's her voice is perfect.
Butter. She's perfect.
She is to me what Barbara Streisand is to my mom. I feel like.
And who Barbara Streisand is to me. I mean, I love.
So you're depressed. You're about to jump in front of a train.
Okay, so the final, like when I decided to leave, it wasn't necessarily regret. Because I had to do it, and I knew I had to do it. And if I didn't, I don't know what would have happened, I would have been torturing myself, truly. So I was so happy that someone had allowed me to do that. I went on a 3-month leave, and I was supposed to come back after, but, when you have anxiety and you're just, like, trying to fucking cure it, it doesn't work that way. You have to, like, give yourself some space. And all I wanted in the world was to go back, but ultimately I knew it wasn't going to be a safe space for me, at least at that point in my life, because it felt so soon. So I was very depressed, and I dealt with that for I want to say 6 months. It was my childhood dream, and going back to my relationship with my sister, I think there was a bit of competitive vibes there where when I had that experience, and she knew, because she's my sister, she knew that was my lifelong goal and my ultimate, heaven. I was so, so happy when I was doing it. And for me to just, have that moment and have a failure, essentially, where I had to take care of myself and leave, and she knew how real it was for me, I think it humanized me in her brain.
You think she's proud of you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, now, especially because she has a husband now who's the best, and she's found love, and it's opened up her world, and I think she realized that was the big failure she saw me experience, and she now knows that I'm, a human being who isn't just this, strong, outgoing person.
Well, I have a surprise for you. We actually have your sister here. Ladies and gentlemen, Kimiko's sister, everybody.
Oh my God. I would actually be so happy. I haven't seen her since quarantine. So
does she live in LA?
She lives in Phoenix, but she actually went away for 4 months to Minnesota. I should know this, but
we'll VO it. We'll send it in this.
Yeah.
I have 2 more things I want to talk to you about. By the way, I'm happy talking for a while more. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, yeah, go to the bathroom.
So
I noticed you had a little bidet in there, and I just got one of those. Is that a weird thing to notice and to say? Give me a review of this bidet.
Yeah, I've used probably 2 rolls of toilet paper in the past 4 months.
Okay, question. They say that if you have one of those...
Pissing my pants.
Sorry.
No,
I'll let you go in a second.
No, tell me.
I hear with those, you don't have to use toilet paper, but, if you spray your butt with water, isn't your butt wet?
That's as the old saying goes. If you spray your butt with water, does anybody hear? And the truth is, I don't wipe my ass with toilet paper. I dry it.
Air dry it.
No. I dry it with toilet paper, I'm saying.
Okay.
I use toilet paper.
Just less.
I use less.
Toilet.
I take 2 sheets, fold it, so now it's 1 double sheet, fold it again. It's like it's 4 sheets, but it's the size of a couple of fingers.
Okay.
Dab my asshole. Do I see poop? Usually not. Is there water? More than I'd like. Throw it in the toilet, take another 2 sheets, finish the dry. 4 sheets of toilet paper, my ass is clean.
You have a whole system.
Well, at this point, with the way the world is today.
Yeah, you wanted to learn how to conserve it.
I wanted to... listen, I think big picture, we need to focus on mutual respect, consent, admiration, conversations. Mm-hmm. But on a micro level, I'm not just, and I mean this respectfully, I'm not just worried about your asshole. I'm not just worried about her or his asshole. I think it starts at home. And we are at Tushy. We want to let you know that not only could you get 20% and free shipping using promo code SHOESOFF or TYSO or whatever it was when I did this commercial a while ago, and I don't think they're working with me anymore, but here's a free plug. You want to take care of your asshole at home. If we could teach our kids to take care of their own assholes at a young age, I'm not worried about who's going to fuck or get fucked by when he gets older, or she.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to get philosophical about it, but the truth is, when you're wiping your butt with toilet paper, it's like if I had poop on my hands and I just took a paper towel. What are we doing? Use a little water.
Why would you have poop on your hands?
What I'm saying is that we treat our assholes worse than we treat our hands.
Do you just scoop it out at the end? Like what?
Kimiko, you're not understanding the point I'm making.
I've never used a bidet. I don't understand.
What I'm saying is, when you poop,
okay.
There's no...
Which I don't do, by the way. That's not... I can't relate.
I think that stigmatizes poop, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Okay.
Women poop. They fart.
Not me.
They make mistakes. They're overly emotional, and I can't stand them. Okay? I'm just joking. You get it. Comedy. But those women that do poop, the poop comes out of the butt. Hold for sound. This is important.
This is an important
The poop comes out of the butthole.
Yeah.
And now there's poop on the butthole. That's why... other people wipe their butthole. So if there were poop on if.
Yeah, because it's not me.
Not me either for this one.
Yeah.
If there were poop on my hand, taking toilet paper and wiping my hand isn't going to literally do shit.
Yeah.
We need an emulsifying agent. We need some soap, but at least run it under some water.
Yeah.
And that's what we at Tushy are here to offer. And for a limited time, we can save you 20% and free shipping using promo code TYSO or Shoes Off.
Can I use that promo code? Wait, I already got it. Dang it.
Did you get a Tushy or did you get a different one?
I got a Tushy, and that's why I noticed it.
Do me a favor. You haven't used it yet?
No. Do I send it back and I use the promo code?
No. It's fine. When you use it, before this comes out, I would love to, when I use the bathroom, while I'm using the bathroom, we'll do a little movie magic.
Okay.
We'll cut to a clip of your review.
I thought you were going to say of me using the bathroom.
We'll just put it where the thing is.
Yeah,
we won't see her face.
Put a little GoPro inside the toilet, yeah.
And we'll blur whatever needs to be blurred. And we'll just listen and see how it sounds. We'll be right back after a word from Kimiko's butthole. If you're looking for just the right flooring, you need choices. And at Marshall Carpet One, you'll certainly find them. Good.
Can you see? Like, I cannot actually snap.
You just did it. I heard it.
It's like...
You know the snapping sound? This was an interesting find for me. The snap, it's not the finger and the thumb is leaving each other. It's the sound of the finger hitting the palm. Look, if I put my finger here... Also, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm doing middle.
Right.
But everyone's like, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like. Their pads are together.
No, I am like this thing is, the thumb is going to catapult to the other place and the other finger's holding it back.
Wait, like that?
Yeah. Who gives a shit?
I need to learn. This has been a problem, a lifelong issue.
Well, if you guys want to see me teaching Kimiko, I'm saying Kimiko, right?
Yeah, totally.
How to snap, stick around for the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/takeyourshoesoff and there'll be some behind the scenes footage. I am pushing my Patreon. It's
Patreon is just like some like Venmo for artists, right?
It's a subscription-based content platform.
But you get extra stuff on it.
People could pay extra to get. I post like bonus episodes. So there's episodes that you could only get on there, and the way you're laughing makes me want to defend myself right now.
Because there are cars screaming past.
Oh no! I felt for a while. I felt like kind of selling merch and Patreon. I felt was a little pathetic.
But you gotta hustle, especially nowadays. I mean. How are we making money?
Well, that's the thing, and this podcast has become. Thankfully, it's starting to grow in a place that it's making money, and I see it as an actual career.
Yeah.
And I put in so much time to it, and all these extra things. Well, I'm like, yeah, pay $5 for it.
Yeah.
And it covers my rent.
Now, can I ask you? I mean, maybe you've talked about this in other podcasts, but I'm just curious. You could cut it out. But like, how do you get into podcast making? And like, I don't really even know how it monetizes. I've always I'm a huge podcast junkie. So I
HPJ.
HPJ, and I like any second of the day where I have a moment, I am listening to a podcast. So I've always been like, oh, God, I want to start a podcast. But I hate the sound of my own voice, which is so funny because I make my living off my voice. But I also don't really know how it works. Like some have sponsors, I guess. And
so two things. One, well, let's talk about stuff. And also, if there's more, I'm happy when this is over to chat. This has become my life, podcasting. And I have a lot of intel that I'd be happy to speak with you about. But also, I sincerely, I want to talk to you about the voiceover stuff and into the Spideyverse and Ducktales and like that's all. We started this conversation with you admiring the mic stand, and I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it yet because I want to talk to you about VO stuff.
Yeah.
But I do want to say for two reasons. One, because we are going to put some extra stuff on Patreon, and two, for people that aren't too into behind the scenes stuff, I'm just going to put this part on the conversation on Patreon.
Okay.
So if you guys want to check it out, head over to patreon.com/takeyourshoesoff.
Now, the taking your shoes off thing, is that because you're afraid of cleanliness, or is it a control thing?
I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and it's gotten a lot better since I was a kid, and it's flared its ugly little head a bit more since this quarantine happened.
Of course, I was always wondering about that.
It's
hypochondriac or germophobic,
and it's weird because it's not germs, but it is like I'm not afraid of when I'm outside. I love playing frisbee. I'll play in the dirt. I'm not afraid of that stuff. I have this weird thing. I don't want to even say weird thing just for stigmatizing to anybody else who has it. I have this thing that is like, this is my home.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's right now it's a bit messy, but it's clean.
Yeah.
And when it's not, I'm not happy, and I have to figure it out. And people are disgusting. Mm-hmm. Shoes are disgusting. People touch stuff. People pick their nose. Everybody picks their nose. I pick my nose. Everybody picks their fucking nose.
I speak for yourself.
You pick your nose.
Okay, I do.
and when you're at home, you don't pick your nose, and then you go to the garbage and you wash your hands. I go to the garbage, but I understand people will flick and they'll touch and I don't trust people, and I have gotten to a point to where I've created this bubble for myself where I'm scared of things that I don't even know what I'm scared of, and just don't touch it. I'm annoying. I said it before. I'm fine. It's fine. But it was a big problem for me as
you're not annoying.
Growing up, one of the issues of not having friends was I was too much. I annoyed people. It is what it is. Everybody has their flaws. That was 100% one of mine. Always being on and not even knowing why. And I'm not just trying to be funny. I'm trying to get you to take your shoes off. I'm trying to keep my environment safe. And it's just, I didn't understand it all. So it was like, there are ways of explaining to people when you first meet them or earlier on in the relationship, I need to be spoken to a certain way. Also, please teach me if you know how to speak to you. Mm-hmm. And I've learned, I'm still learning, but those kind of tools, I've said this on the podcast before, but a big one is I love getting high, and when I get high, I get so fucking silly. And if you don't know me, especially if you're not a pot person, which it seems like you used to at least smoke. Do you smoke? It could be, what the fuck is this person, so I have to say to somebody, like almost a disclaimer, when I get high, I get into bit mode, and you won't know I'm doing bits. I'll if we were on a first date, and you drop something, and I'm in this mood, I will start to cry. And I'm joking. How crazy would it be if Rick was crying because you dropped the Simpsons?
On a first date?
Whatever it is, bits. Just jokes.
Oh my God.
Because it's funny because it is a first date.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I was talking to you about of like when you're watching it from the edit bay. I have always watched life from the edit bay. And this would
Does that get in the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of my podcasts that I love was David Wayne. Do you know David Wayne?
No.
Comedy director, the king of satire as far as I'm concerned. Wet Hot American Summer, Role Models. He's the best at Is This Real or Not? And I had this conversation with him because I've seen this in him, but it's a movie, so it's okay. And I was curious, does it get in the way into your life? Yes, it got in the way of mine still does sometimes, but it's a cost benefit, and I like doing bits.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to do is think I'm being hysterical and know that you think I'm being hysterical, but really you're fucking nervous. Who is this guy? He's crying. I'm at his house. I want to leave. So I have to tell somebody, I might be doing a joke and it might weird you out. I never want to fuck with you. I'm just fucking around. If at any moment you feel uncomfortable or you don't understand, please, you got to be direct with me and just say, Rick, you got to knock it off. Mm-hmm. Give me the benefit of the doubt one time. And then I know, because otherwise I might think, and this happens so many times, especially with comedians where they're riding that line of they're joking back, but because what's the alternative? Mm-hmm. I think we're playing. As a kid, I used to be so physical, and I would wrestle, and I boxed, and I had real boxing gloves.
You're like, I would tackle people left and right.
I would
and
fight
they wouldn't
people.
go along with it.
Well, they would go along with it. Nobody said, Rick, I don't want to wrestle. They would
They
wrestle
punched
back.
the shit out of me. Let me tell you.
And we had the best laugh. We were icing together, but then they didn't want to play anymore, and I didn't understand why. So just like learning to tell people, hey, when you come over, I need you to take your shoes off. I'm weird about this. That's why I was talking about the expectations. Make sure you wear a mask or your socks are clean or whatever. So then when they get here, I don't have to do jokes.
Yeah.
I've been talking so much.
No, it's so interesting to me. And also just like, someone asked me last night if I was OCD, and I don't know how much you want to continue talking about this, but like, I just like my place clean. And I think that the word OCD is used too much in the way of like people needing things to be organized and clean. Mm-hmm. But that isn't what OCD is. And I think OCD manifests in different ways, like Rituals, yeah. And I don't know, is cleanliness a bit of it? I mean, it's part of this.
Yeah, it's controlling your life in ways that, I don't, this isn't a medical thing, but like, finding ways of controlling your environment or your relationships or your shoes or whatever it might be that I believe is some type of transference of a lack of control that you don't have elsewhere, or some type of fear that you're trying to manage or mitigate. That's why when people are anxious, their OCD gets a little bit worse because there's so much more. I'm so out of control in this part of my life.
Yeah.
I had this, my friend Jeff Karp's I never remember, a psychiatrist, psychologist, therapist. He's a professional doctor.
One of those, yeah.
And we talked about this, and people will say, and I'm not offended by any means. He was talking about how it could be offensive, but people are like, I have such OCD, you have to put my book to face this way. And who cares? But that it does confuse what obsessive compulsive disorder actually is, which is debilitating.
Yeah.
People get anxious without having panic attacks, without having an anxiety disorder. It doesn't mean that this isn't you broke your leg, I'm missing a foot. It's not like a competitive thing, but it is like for people to better understand. And with the autism thing, and I have to make myself comfortable talking about it. Before the diagnosis, I loved talking about it because it was like this new thing, and it's like, if I have autism, then like, do I have this green light to like talk about things and look what and it was making jokes of something, and then once it was not making jokes of autism but of my situation and my relationship with what autism is. And then I got the diagnosis and I felt like I was Quailman. It was a superhero. It was it validated all these things in my past. And then when I would talk about it, I noticed some people were like, that's not what autism is, or some people would make fun, everyone knows you're autistic. And like it was this thing of like, I don't want to make this an identity that needs to be validated. It's just.
But it is, it's cool that you wanted to talk about it, because it helps people,
It helps people, myself, or helps people listening?
Helps people listening. I mean,
I've been getting some amazing feedback from that. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think people feel, especially if they're going through it themselves, that everyone, especially people in the spotlight, have no problems at all. They're just like so strong and so wonderful, but they're like, to be able to talk about it, especially in your position or in my position, where people, especially with social media, when you're only seeing the good things, when you're able to talk about actual real life struggles like mental health or your experience with autism, it's like it makes other people feel better. Like, oh, everyone is kind of going through this, and it's so cool this person has persevered, or like is able to get, to overcome in a way. Like he has this successful podcast, or I'm able to step on a set and not let my anxiety get the better of me, and I'm like pushing myself to take risks, and despite it all, I think it's inspiring to people. And people just run with the assumption that if you are in Hollywood or you have a blue check mark or whatever, that you have it all. You have money, you have confidence, you have several things lined up, but it's just not the case. And I think, me being in it, and a lot of my friends are struggling, especially because a lot of them are theater performers who are completely out of work for years and years. I think it's good to talk about so that people understand that they're not alone.
Yeah. On a personal level, there is a, I guess, fear of... I have this fear of talking. I'm not afraid of talking, of people knowing. It's not a secret. It's do I have a responsibility to package this a certain way? Am I speaking for other people? And a feeling that I hate is a feeling where I feel like I'm trying to prove something to somebody, because people do have this idea of what autism is. And there's a saying that I like a lot, which is you meet somebody with autism, you've met one person with autism. There are similarities, there are patterns of behavior, and there are
but
literal
there's a
toolbooks.
massive spectrum, right?
Yes, and I don't want to make it like I'm excusing anything or saying, look what I've overcome by any means. It's literally, it's all about...
And granted, it's not even overcoming, because it's something that I deal with, you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So
it's also something I like about myself. It's also there are this is a stereotypical version, but I could solve a Rubik's Cube really fast. I'm really good with patterns. I could analyze. My comedy is what it is because of the way I see the world, for better and for worse.
Yeah.
And it's not like getting this diagnosis changed who I am. It just gives me more information. And I like talking about it because I like to be able... Here's what I want. If people would be okay with it, I would want to, every time I meet somebody, and I don't know if I mean this literally, but it is heavily inspired. Every time I meet somebody, I want to say, how you doing? I have autism. Give me a break. Just give me a fucking break. Oh, he's so weird, or he's annoying, or he has rules, or is he joking, is he not? You don't have to just know that maybe whatever you're thinking isn't what I'm thinking. Because I never knew that, and that was always a challenge. And now I know that so much to where I'm exhausted calculating all the possibilities of what you might be thinking and why. And I'll never know, even if I ask. And but you can't say that. Is this guy fucking joking? Hey man, I'm autistic. They'd be like, oh. But then it's an excuse. So the point I'm trying to say is what I've learned, and what I've said is learn how to communicate to others and learn to have them better communicate with you. That starts by... So I don't have to tell you I have autism. I could just say, I take things literally. I do understand sarcasm. I love to make jokes. I might not pick up on things that are intuitive to you. I speak very well, very directly. So when I speak directly to you, I'm not meaning to be aggressive, but I need you to speak that way. Or I could just say, hey, I'm autistic, and just try to navigate it with me. But it's not, everybody is something. So it's not autism. It's just that it feels like autism would be a nice short. Here's a great example. I'm on this show, this Amazon show. It's picked up the series. We haven't started filming it yet. It's a spin-off of an Israeli show called On the Spectrum. Okay. And it's about 3 autistic roommates who are living their life, navigating the world together, and trying to have their independence with jobs and with relationships. And it's very cool to be a part of this.
That's so cool, yeah.
And on that set, it's very interesting. I haven't worked... I've been on sets. I have enough sets to know everything's different, but here's kind of what things are. On this set, there are... I don't know if I'm using the term right, but a handler and or an autism specialist, or... They are... If this were a regular set, it would just be extremely considerate. But I don't know if it's a union rule or they're just being kind. But like somebody dropped something once. Nobody likes a loud noise. I have my things. I mentioned earlier athletic leisure, but I have a hard time with pants.
Like jeans, you mean? Real pants?
Real pants. I wear them. Sometimes I have to.
Yeah.
Incidentally, while we're talking about theater, I talked about this on, I think it was a Joel McHale episode, and he was busting my balls, and it was very funny, but he was kind with it. But a few days before, I went to Phantom of the Opera with my friend John, and he had the tickets. I say that because I'm his guest. We're both going to the theater, but I'm his guest, which matters.
Yeah.
I'm in my mid-30s. I know you're supposed to dress up, but who gives a fuck? Let me wear my sweatpants. I'll wear something that looks fine.
This is for Broadway, right?
No, this is at the Pantages.
Oh. Well, it's still nice, right?
Yeah. I'm not performing.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I understand. I truly do understand that.
Did you go in sweatpants?
No.
Okay.
I didn't because I was his guest. So I reached out and I said, "Hey, John, I know you're supposed to dress up for the theater, but would you mind if I wore sweatpants?" He goes, "No, you dress up, bro." I said, "Okay." I went into my closet for a few minutes. I cried.
Oh no.
It wasn't, the stars were aligned. We're all, there's other things obviously going on. My bandwidth was narrow at the time, and putting on pants and the level of hot I get and the belt and the feeling, the best I could explain it to somebody who doesn't deal with this is maybe you wear contacts or you can imagine. If you're used to wearing glasses and then you have to have something in your eye, I know people do it, but you're always feeling it. Mm-hmm. That's what pants are to me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to wear pants.
Yeah.
But I was at a place where I'm looking at my sweatpants I have some sweatpants that they're nice looking sweatpants.
Yeah.
They look like, those are cool.
Like a good luxurious jogger.
Something LeBron would wear.
Yeah.
They look expensive.
Yeah.
They're nice. And I'm like, do I not go? And like I started to, I'm not on my knees begging for help, but my eye, tears are down the face.
Oh no.
And I'm thinking to myself, the logical adult in me is saying, Rick, just wear some fucking pants. But this other thing that I can't really control is, no, What was the point? Why was I bringing this up?
I don't know. Joel McHale was his segue in?
No, it was. So people will make jokes. So John, Joel, anybody. It's easy to make jokes, especially with somebody who makes their own jokes about it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, make self-deprecating and/or I'm attacking them, so they attack me back. But the truth is, I don't know how well my friends even know some of the. And this again, I don't mean it as an excuse. Everyone has their own things, and I have it great. Some of these things that we joke about are really tough for me. Mm-hmm. Feeling emotional again right now. Some of these things are just tough, and to try and navigate this world where I don't want to be annoying and high maintenance and difficult, but I also don't want to cry and have to wear contacts and these things and navigating it. So that was the point of saying, like, if I could just say to somebody, and I don't like this and I don't mean this, but this is like the really cartoon, politically incorrect version of it. I'm autistic, cut me some slack. Mm-hmm. I just want to, because then, like, if somebody were, had a one leg, and you're like, hey man, you got to put on a nice fake foot. We're going to the big ball. You just be like, he's got one leg. Let him just wear the sweatpants. Like, that's not what I'm saying I am, but there's this, where am I compromising? Where am I overcompensating with bits? And where are the tools that I have not yet learned or perfected to where, and that's why I don't leave my house much. The control of the OCD it's like, okay, I'm talking a lot. Thank you. I believe that it's enough that you were interested, but
no, I mean, I think that I don't find you annoying. I mean, you keep like self-deprecating,
it's
and
fear of being annoying. I think I've gotten better at it, but I'm scared that that's going to happen.
No, it's not happening. It's fine. I think you're not. And I think that the more you can disclose to people, especially people that are close to you, exactly what you're dealing with and what you're going through, I think the more you know, the more people understand and empathize, and I don't think they would hold that against you. And especially even people you don't know, for me, it helps me to tell people exactly where I'm at, because it helps my anxiety. Like once Because if I pretend like everything's okay and I have my shit together and everything, that's when I start to implode on myself, because like they don't have any idea where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
You know, but like if I come to into a situation like you said to me, like my adrenaline's high at the start of this, and I was like, instantly that made me feel more comfortable because I was nervous.
Yeah,
You know,
I just
so-
learned that one recently, what you're saying that you do.
Yeah.
Telling people your chemical or emotional state
Yeah.
could kind of compartmentalize other people's, because you're feeling something.
Yeah, and I think everyone is freaking out inside constantly. Everyone's freaking out. Like the only people who aren't are like sociopaths and like people. I don't even know. Like those people are special, in a very special category. But most of the population is dealing with stuff inside that they're trying to mask, and that is so hard to live with.
Trying to mask.
Just trying to pretend like it's not a thing, trying to put on a smile when they are feeling not like smiling, you know?
Yeah. I do understand that, and I know that's what people do. It's almost it's the exact opposite. So it's a 180 that it's almost the same, which is I get very don't mask it.
Which I think is great.
It both of them, you know, if you can mask it really well, or if you could not mask it but be pleasant, you know, it's a dance on either side.
Yeah.
How you doing? Good, thanks. How are you? Fine. That interaction was almost impossible for me.
Wow.
Because when someone would say to me, "How was your weekend?" What do you want from me? Like, what did I eat? I don't know how to answer that. And now I have to ask you disingenuously, because I do care about you, but how was your weekend? How was last Thursday? It's just an arbitrary thing. And
well, it's also like how in depth do you go ever? You know, I could be like, it's fine, you, or it could be like, well, it was super busy. I had and all this stuff, and it was just like so much stress and you could go crazy talking about it. That's a hard one.
And then the other person is like, all right, I was just saying hi. And my thought is, then just say hi. Why are we masking and pretending?
I think it's just a go-to, you know?
It is. What I've learned is when somebody says, how you doing, they're not asking how you doing. It's their tool to connect, to open a conversation with somebody.
Because if you just say hi, you're like, hi, and that's where the conversation ends.
Or
right?
begins. Because if I go, how you doing? Good, thanks. How are you? Good. All right, bye. Well, what the fuck were we just dancing around?
But there's the potential to actually say how you're doing.
And when you come in, I'm going to tell you, I got a little bit of an adrenaline rush. I'm not going to wait for you to give me permission to tell you. I don't need somebody to say, how you doing, for me to let them know. Also, I'm feeling myself being a little aggressive now. I'm just, I got a strong
I don't
point
feel
of view
aggression.
on this. But like, it's...
But you're so self-aware. It's so interesting. But at the same time, I think you're very hard on yourself. Because I don't view it how you're viewing it, but I appreciate that you are constantly checking in with yourself.
So a couple of things are happening now.
Yeah.
One, there's me checking in and calculating. And two, we are in a conversation about the semantics, the minutia, and the logic of it. So I'm kind of like, if we were, before we got in this conversation, I wasn't doing that. Like, I'm kind of like, I guess, explaining the thought process. I'm not like, oh no, did I just yell at her? I'm fine. Yeah. Anyway,
is this part going on the Patreon?
who knows? I have Betty will watch it and she'll tell me what we'll put bonus and whatnot. I got to tell you, I very much like this conversation.
Yeah.
One, the way it's going, and two, having it with someone I don't know is a fresh take.
Yeah. Do you normally have most of your friends on here, or do you like?
I've talked about autism on the podcast probably. It's an arbitrary. I'd say 7 times. It's either with people who have something similar and or an organic, like this moment came up with it. Never hiding it. It's just don't talk about it that much. But I don't know if I've talked about it with somebody who I don't know, but I haven't talked about it on the podcast in a while anyway.
Yeah, I'm the type of person who's not the best at small talk. I'm a Cancer, so I like to just kind of like dig and go in. And sometimes that's cool for people, and sometimes it's not. I think a lot of people don't like sharing things.
Yeah, I understand that.
But I'm an oversharer, I think.
Well, this I do try and make the podcast not go too long for editing purposes and for just, if you're interested, and I'll ask you at another time, I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah.
But I do.
Maybe looking a little more normal.
We'll have you come as Skeeter. I do really want to put. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
And I want to. I want you to sing.
Okay.
Do you remember the words?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember the words?
I'll pull them up on Google.
I have them right here.
You shut up. You do? You printed them out? Oh my gosh, how funny.
Also, I'm upset we didn't get to it, but again, we'll have you back because I wanted to talk voiceover with you a bit. I have a voiceover audition. I don't know what I'm allowed to put out, but I wanted to actually do my audition here, and you give me some notes, and then I would bleep it out or whatever. But we won't do that. I just want to kind of throw that was a fun idea I had.
Yeah.
But let me give you this.
By the way, you have a great voice for, podcasts, for just anything. You have a great voice.
I think I thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm annoying. I'm not interested. Well, all the things. I will tell you this. I feel like I have a voice for
You
something.
have a great voice.
I want to get in. I've done a couple of, McDonald's commercials.
All you have to do is get in.
I know.
I know.
like
that's all it takes. I mean, literally, I auditioned for years and years and years, and everyone, even just in an initial conversation, would be like, "You should do voiceovers. Your voice is so interesting." And I'm like, I keep hearing that, but I can't get a call back, And then I did Orange is the New Black, and then everyone was calling
So
me.
you were getting VO gigs not from a voiceover thing, but just because of acting work.
Well, yeah, they saw me on Orange is the New Black, thought my voice was unique.
Cool.
I did a couple. First, I think I did BoJack Horseman.
So cool.
Yeah, that was totally random. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I think it was the Netflix affiliation and everything. But, and then I started doing a few things for like Nickelodeon, like some promos, and then they just kept calling me back. And that's kind of what ends up happening is it's all about just getting in.
I know.
And then they just keep using you.
My friends, John, who took me to Phantom of the Opera, and his wife Allison and I are developing a cartoon now, and we're pitching, and it's exciting.
So fun.
And for a lot of reasons, I'm excited. But one of them is like, this could be a back door. Like, let me show that I could do voices, and then so part of my excitement of this is I want to get a voiceover career.
Yeah.
And
it's so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
All right, let me do
Cartoons
this.
mainly? Both. You could do both.
Yeah, cartoons.
Yeah.
I mean, what you mean, like spokesperson stuff?
Like commercials. I was never good for commercials. I have too crazy of a voice.
I would love to I mean, it's great money and it's a great gig. And I've done 5 McDonald's voiceover commercials.
Nice.
And I would love to do more for money.
Yeah.
But I want to do voices. I want to do cartoons. They don't pay that well, relatively speaking. It's not like I just.
It keeps you afloat a little bit, but it's not. I mean, if you have a show that has like 20 some episodes and like several seasons, then but like per episode is like nothing.
But the reason I want to do it is because like that's a fun thing to do.
So
that's
fun.
A fun gig to do.
Yeah.
And see how they animate you. Oh, you know what? I did a cartoon. I had them on. They created Mike Tyson's Murder Mystery. Mike Tyson Mysteries. Do you know that show?
No.
It's Scooby-Doo, but for Adult Swim, and instead of Scooby-Doo, it's Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson's in it. Mike Tyson Mysteries. They did 3 seasons. I think it just finished.
Oh my gosh.
Larry, Rachel, and Hugh. They were on a couple months ago. But they wrote a cartoon for me that I got to do. So I had one, and seeing them animate in my voice and my mouth, and the guy's name was Glassman. It was just fun.
Yeah.
But let me give you this.
Okay. I have to pee. Is that okay?
It's not what I
asked for. Sometimes life just slips in through a back door and carves at a person and makes you believe it's all true. And now I got you, and you're not what I asked for. If I'm honest, I know.
Okay, I've always that.
Yeah, that was good.
Honest, I know.
No, I would give it all back for a chance to start over and rewrite an day or two. We should make this a duet.
The girl that I knew
Who'll be reckless just enough, who'll get hurt, but who learns out. Okay.
I got
It's
it.
not what I asked for. Sometimes life just slips in through a back door and carves out a person who makes you believe it's all true. And now I got you, and it's not what I asked for. If I'm honest, I know I would give it all back for a chance to start over and rewrite an ending or two for that girl that I knew who was reckless.
I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry to everybody. I'm sorry to myself for not being prepared for a moment like this. To never even try to learn this when you listen all the time.
How come?
I have to defend myself. I have not played piano in a very long time. I've been sad. I've been moving. Look how dusty.
It's okay. It's okay. And you're sweating everywhere.
Shut up. It's not what I asked for. I got it. Sometimes
life
I have to go deeper.
just slips in through a back door and carves out a person.
You have to let me do it without you for a
Sorry,
second.
I'm sorry,
Stop.
I'm sorry, I'll
Stop.
shut up, I'll
Broadway
shut
start. Stop for a second. Just now what maybe we need a little lower. I think it was going well before you guys got here. No, it's not your fault. It's hers.
Scoot doo, blabbity blue, scoop dee. Oh yeah.